All right, welcome to the Jim Acosta Show, and it's another day that ends in Y in the wait for the release of the Epstein files. Congress passed the bill, Donald Trump signed it, and yet we wait. In the meantime, the Epstein survivors have released a new statement saying they're waiting too, and they're watching, and many of them are now receiving death threats. Let's discuss with Epstein survivor Jess Michaels. She was up on Capitol Hill for that inspiring news conference that we saw earlier this week that came before Congress passing the Epstein files bill. And Jess, it's great to see you again.
Thanks for having me back on. It's been a
Yeah.
week. It's been a
What a
week.
week. Oh my goodness. How are you
Back to
feeling?
back, like
Yeah.
historic events of Representative Grijalva being the 218th signature, being in the gallery when she signed the dispatch petition, and having all of those representatives stand and cheer us on, to then come back and repeat that. I got off the train on Friday and hop back on Sunday, and then to be there on Tuesday for that historic moment of just Congress supporting us and saying, yeah, this is unacceptable, and we can really all get on board with this.
Yeah, and I was there at the press conference. I mean, I think we were talking about this before we got going here, but there aren't many press conferences that happen up on Capitol Hill that are as inspiring as the one that you were a part of with the other survivors. And I'm not just saying that to, puff anybody up. It truly was. And it was a moment where I think, it gave you some hope for our democratic process.
Yes.
You came up there, you spoke, and then this bill raced through both houses of Congress. I don't know if I've ever personally seen that happen in a very long time here in Washington, where almost everybody voted for it.
And we didn't expect that. We expected that we would be getting it through the House, and then we had another month or two of lobbying planned.
Yeah. Right. And you thought this was going to keep, being a battle. Mike Johnson was saying, oh, they might change it over in the Senate.
Yeah.
And then over in the Senate, they said, we don't want this, hot potato. Let's just pass it and get it done. And they were hearing from their constituents, and they were on your side.
And you were there. You heard Marjorie Taylor Greene say that this was an unprecedented amount of support from the American people reaching out to their representatives.
Yeah, there's no question about it. But I do want to make mention of the fact that the survivors have released this new statement. You shared it with me just a few minutes ago, and I posted it and want to show it to our viewers here. I mean, this is very important that we show this, because basically it jives with what I was saying at the beginning of the show, which is the wait continues. And as we all know, Donald Trump could have released these files without an act of Congress, without an act of Congress that is signed by the president. He could just do this right now. And walk us through some of the elements of this statement and why it's so important. And I do want to talk about the fact that some of you are now receiving death threats, which is not, it's disturbing, but it's not surprising. But let's walk through what's important in this statement, because I want to go through it.
Thank you. And actually, none of this is surprising.
Right.
We're aware of it, but we really wanted the American people to know that we're aware that this is coming. So this is par for the course. There are going to be attempts to blame victims for our own or each other's abuse. There's going to be victim blame. That has happened for generations to any person that comes forward with sexual abuse, sexual harm issues. I mean, that's par for the course. We're going to expect that there are going to be incomplete disclosures. That's expected. However, I will tell you, we have I can't tell you how many attorneys I've talked to that are saying we have teams on the ground. I mean, third-party attorneys, we have teams ready for these files, that they are going to be combing through them. So we have a lot of support that I think that there's a real underestimation of how much support we actually have. And I think that goes back to number one, where there's just such a disbelief in sexual assault and sexual harm and trafficking in general, that disbelief is actually really underestimated, because it matches the level of support that we have from the volume of survivors that are out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Threats to our physical safety. Many have already received death threats and threats of harm, and we're bracing for this to escalate. That's expected. This is the one. Number 4 is really important for people to understand. So in any kind of abusive situation, coercion, the manipulation, sexual harm, silence and secrecy are the tools of predators.
Yeah.
Silence and secrecy. So the fact that we have come together so strongly as a collective of sister survivors, started by Virginia Giuffre and by Maria Farmer, who was the original whistleblower back in 1996.
Wow.
They are going to try to pull us apart. They're going to find ways to pull us apart, kind of the same
Yeah.
way that has happened with the American people. And I cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate the Republicans that have come on board to support this. There were many Republicans that we went into their offices on Monday and Tuesday. They have been supporting anti-sex trafficking legislation for a long time. We are not new to them. They have always supported this, and they are on board with this. So I think there's a little bit of an underestimation on the part of this administration of how many people are actually against anti-trafficking, and they happen to also be Republicans. But I saw beautiful, beautiful bipartisan efforts this week that tell me we have a lot of hope for the American people.
I totally agree. And I saw Marjorie Taylor Greene up there. Thomas Massey was up there standing next to Ro Khanna, who's a pretty progressive Democrat. And I mean, that is basically the entire political spectrum
Yes.
in American politics. And, Marjorie Taylor Greene was nodding along with Ro Khanna, and he was nodding along with her. So it was kind of a mind-blowing experience for me as a political reporter. I'll be real honest with you. But I have to say, it's because of you and the rest of the survivors that this happened. I mean, and the power of Virginia Giuffre's story. It's the reason why this happened. And the images of you and the other survivors holding up those pictures of yourselves, that to me was the most powerful moment because, and I know you've all done this before, you did it in the PSA the other day, but people have to be reminded, you stand there as grown women.
Yeah.
But you have to hold up those pictures of the girls. These are the girls who
We're
were
speaking
harmed.
for our younger selves,
Yeah.
and it's,
Yeah.
I was 22 when I was raped by Jeffrey Epstein, and it destroyed me. Because I was at such a vulnerable age. And that's something I really want to touch on very quickly, Jim, because I think one of the things that's going to happen in this, in any kind of a smear campaign, and we heard it with Virginia, is that, that somehow abuse was our fault or because there was recruiting happening. Because the public is so uneducated about what happens in sex trafficking, there is nothing about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's trafficking ring that was unique. It is the exact same playbook that is played out in every sex trafficking ring. There is always an older woman that then corrupts these younger, vulnerable young women or boys or men, and then recruits them through fear, through intimidation, through coercion to then get other people. It is not special or unique or in any way something that was a brilliant operation. It is playbook. It's the sex trafficking 101. And most people don't know that. And so they don't understand the coercive control. What is unique about it is the buyers, the predators that came in and got involved with all of these young girls and young women.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the consequences, I mean, they started immediately. We saw Larry Summers, former president of Harvard and Treasury Secretary, admit to his, I guess, in part to his behavior. I don't know if he fully admitted what he did, but he acknowledged mistakes on his part, and he said he's withdrawing from public view. But we're not completely to the bottom of this. I mean, there were the emails that came out from the Epstein estate. That's not even scratching the surface of what's in the Epstein files themselves, surveillance videos, perhaps photographs, perhaps.
Yes.
And, I keep coming back to this April 2011 email that came out last week that Epstein wrote to Ghislaine Maxwell about Donald Trump. This is long before he got into national politics. And, he's mentioned as somebody who's been at Epstein's house for hours and hours. And to me, it's just an unanswered question. And they try to say, well, the person whose name is redacted and that person said Trump is a gentleman and all this stuff. until I see that unredacted name, I don't know that that is the case. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And also, why was he at the house for hours? And I mean, that's another question too. But I'm just wondering what you think about Trump's involvement in all of this. His name came up so many times in those emails, and you have to think it's going to come up when the files are released.
I think his name's going to come up. I think a lot of names are going to come up. And what I fear is that everybody will be so laser focused on Donald Trump that they will miss all the other people that are in this ring, because it is so much bigger than Donald Trump. Right now, he's the person responsible for withholding this information, but he's only one of many, many more. And we would be remiss. I mean, otherwise the same thing has happened. Like Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, and that was it. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, and they're saying, oh, there wasn't any trafficking except to himself. It was just Jeffrey Epstein. So this idea of narrowing it down to one person and making that person the fall person is a road we don't want to stay on. So we're just going to say it's a lot bigger than Donald Trump. And we have a lot of faith in the American people that they are not going to settle for any of the shenanigans that we're expecting to happen.
And you don't want to get sidetracked by politics.
We don't. This should never have been. I shouldn't have had to go to that. Honestly, as wonderful as you guys are doing all the reporting, there are so many other things I would rather be doing than going up to Capitol Hill and talking to Congress. No offense.
No, and I saw Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut, the other day. He was asked, well, what if Democratic names come up in all this? And he said, so what?
Exactly.
And that's how that's how a lot of people feel. That's how I feel. So what? This just needs to be, the truth needs to come out.
5 administrations, Jim.
Right.
5 administrations. We cannot. And now, regardless of whether he's in the file, like let's play down. He's not in the files. This is his administration. He has a responsibility now to deal with this issue, regardless. And if he doesn't, the American people are going to have something to say about it.
Yeah. Well, and the wait continues. I mean, this was passed, it was signed. They could come out today and say, here it is. Voila. Here you go. But we saw Pam Bondi the other day saying, the Attorney General saying, well, we're going to follow the law, and there's some investigations going on. I'm wondering how you interpreted those words. Did they feel a bit coded? What did you think?
So I just saw the full interview to her full press conference today in another interview. And it wasn't the words she said, it was the demeanor. It was, she was not combative like she was during her oversight committee testimony. She was not boastful like she was in February when she came out with all the binders. She had a very scared look on her face and demeanor. So it was her countenance, and all of them, their countenance, that I thought was very different.
Yeah. Like they'd seen a ghost or something.
Yes. Yes. The ghost of Jeffrey Epstein is still haunting them.
Yes. And the only way to get this out of our system is to release the files and just do it.
And can I say, Jim, we sexual assault survivors hear victim blaming all the time. Great, release the files. Somebody's not in the files. He's not in. Great, release the files. There was no other trafficking except to Jeffrey Epstein. Great, release the files. The answer every single time to those concerns is release the files.
Just do it. Yeah.
Good.
And you probably have not had time to fully reflect on this past week, but can you put it into words what this week has been like for you after this long journey?
So I have not slept in 4 months. I actually slept the last 2 nights, so it felt really good.
Wow.
It has felt for the first time a level of validation on a grander scale than I think all of us could fathom. Seeing them stand up and cheer in that house when the electronic vote came through, and we could see all the names as the votes were checked off, green Y's for yes, was incredibly powerful and gave us a level of hope that I think we needed to keep going. And it's overwhelming and numbing at the same time. And I will tell you that I woke up the next day feeling so much rage that we had to get an actual act of Congress to be heard. That was said to me by a staffer, a Republican representative staffer who sat with us in tears and paused while we were sharing our stories. And she said, "This shouldn't take an act of Congress."
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
So I'm honored to be here, but at the same time, I really would rather not. Like, no
No,
offense.
I know, I know, I know.
Great,
As much
million
as
other
we
things.
like each other, I get it. No, and Jess, you were in the gallery. You were up there
Yeah.
watching this go down. What
Yes.
was that like?
It was
Must
oh,
have
can
felt
I
like you were in a movie
I
or something.
oh, it was like a movie because
Yeah.
initially they did a verbal call out for the vote, and then somebody said, "No, we want an electronic vote that's recorded." And so they said, "Okay, 15-minute electronic vote." And we were all looking around, and all the names were displayed on the wall. And as each vote was electronically put in one at a time, a little letter with the color would go up, either green Y or red N. And so for 15 minutes, the suspense is going while we're watching all of the
Mm.
names change. And sometimes there'd be a red N, and then we'd wait a few minutes and it would change to a green, until that one guy who
One
just
guy, Clay Higgins.
one guy who's he's gonna die on this hill for his legacy,
Yeah.
until that one guy decided that he was
That
gonna
should,
do
if he ever writes a book, the title should be That One Guy. I mean,
that one
honestly,
guy.
not that I would buy it, but give me a break.
That one
That guy.
guy. But to watch it happen
Yeah.
visually and have like that moment right there, right, that you were just showing. It was it was beautiful and validating, and it felt like, I mean, for months, I was doing 4 to 5 interviews a week
I know.
just to help
Yeah.
get our stories out there. And thank you for being one of the people that has had me on several times to
Yeah.
just stay
You
on
bet.
top of this story, Jim. And you've had other survivors on, and I I I felt like I could have a little bit of an exhale, is what it felt like.
Yeah. It must have felt so good, honestly. And
Yeah,
I mean, it just was really inspiring. And you don't hear that word tossed around much in DC. It's such a cynical place.
yeah.
But to see, the all of you come to Washington and not give up and keep fighting. Honestly, this is history.
This is
What you did
history.
this week. It's history.
I have one story to tell you that I think is
Mm.
really beautiful. So I had happened to run into Representative Melanie Stansbury in one of the green rooms. We were both doing interviews, and introduced myself, thanked her for her vocal support of us, and then I happened to sit next to her in our meeting with the Democratic Women's Caucus, where we had Republican Women's Caucus members there too. And as women, we were all just talking about how do we deal with this issue. And she said, I think I'm going to go approach Marjorie Taylor Greene later. So we were headed to the vote right after that. And while the 15-minute vote was going on, I watched her literally walk across the aisle, sit down next to Marjorie Taylor Greene, put her arm around her. And that moment will stay with me
Yeah.
as an inspiring moment, because this is what we need. We need to come together. And if it's this one issue, let it be this one issue. But as a country, we've spent far too much time making things political that are not. And one of them being child sex trafficking.
Right. We should all be on the same team when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many other things too, but like
Many
at
other
least,
things.
at the very least, can it be
Yeah.
around this?
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, Jess, I really appreciate the way you have fought for this. I appreciate you coming on so many times. The number of times you come on, it pales in comparison to the number of times I've bugged you to come on. So I appreciate your patience.
We
But
appreciate you keep asking.
I mean, since July, when they tried to sweep this
Yeah.
under the rug, to me, this has been, I mean, I think it's been a cause for this show and for what I've been doing, that, that this not get swept under the rug, that this not get pushed off to the sidelines and put on the back burner like they try to do with, he's been able to do that with so many things, but not this.
Not
Not
this.
this, folks.
It's also proof that
Yeah.
it's bigger than him.
And it's bigger than him. That's true.
Yes.
Very much
On
so.
the positive side and on the negative side.
That's exactly right. Well, kudos to you and the whole team there. And wow, what a victory! And it's a
Yeah.
lesson for all of us that you can still fight and win. You
Yep.
know, in
Yes, we
this
can.
country, in
Yes.
this city. Um, so, Jess Michaels, thank you so much for your time. Please stay. Like this happened, I will tell the viewers who are watching that just to give you like the way this goes down sometimes. Jess, when did you text me? Like at 3, I think, or
At 3,
3:10,
and I had just finished my 3rd interview of the day. And I
and said,
said,
"Here's this
"Hey,
statement."
we're putting out a statement today, and I like to keep you informed because you've been such
Yeah,
an ally of all of us." And you said, "Okay,
yeah,
do you want to come on the show today and talk about it?" I was like,
yeah.
"Yes." And I have another interview at 3:30. So I went to an interview at 3:30, and then I jumped on this one for 4.
Amazing. Well, and that's the determination that it takes. I mean, you guys have been dogged. I mean, just unbelievably determined, and it's really inspiring. And so, Jess, thank you for your time. Have a
Um,
great weekend. Whatever beverage you enjoy it. Get some rest,
Thank you.
and keep us posted because honestly, like I don't until they come out, it's not over. Yeah,
We agree 100%.
yeah,
We're
that's right.
celebrating this because we need this moment of rest and hope, and we're going to soak in
Yeah,
all the support that we've gotten, but it's fueling us for the next round. And we
good.
know we are not alone.
Yeah, and you needed some refueling. That's the
Yes,
thing. You needed that. You
exactly.
needed this. Yeah,
Yes,
great.
exactly.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, good for you, Jess.
Thanks for
Congratulations.
celebrating with me today, Jim.
You bet. You bet. Take care. Keep us posted. Thanks, Jess. All right. That's Jess Michaels. Wow. Okay. That's whew, amazing stuff. And the other thing that I thought was fascinating about this week was the way this has been covered. And as we've talked about on this program, there's covering it and then there's not covering it and willfully ignoring it, which is what they've done over at Fox. And so we're bringing back our friend Juliet Jeske of Decoding Fox News. There's Juliet right there. And you and I talk about this stuff all the time. I was just mentioning with Jess Michaels, all the times that she and I talk, and then versus the number of times she's been on the show, it's two very different numbers. And
Yeah.
that's the case between us. I mean, you and I go back and forth and talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And the way Fox and conservative media tried to bury this, it's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of remarkable because it's a lesson too, and it's another lesson in all of this from the week. As much as they've tried to bury it, they could not stop it.
No, they couldn't. They tried and they
Yeah,
tried. I mean, it was when Trump started acting incredibly suspicious, like mid summer,
yeah,
and everything he did just made him look guiltier and guiltier and guiltier. And it was like a switch went off at Fox and they completely stopped talking about it to the point that I mean it was stunning. And my
yeah.
followers kept asking about it. What are they saying? What are they saying? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. Yes, this is a chart.
Oh yeah, show
Uh
this chart. Yeah, this is
if
great.
you notice it says 11/23/25. That's the Sunday of each week. That's how I organize everything. That's
Yeah,
why it looks like it's in the future. I didn't realize that until after I made it. I was like, "Oh, that's a little confusing." So
that's okay.
that's Sunday. But that is a search for weekly transcripts simply for the word Epstein. Now you can see
Wow.
at the end there, it just shoots up like a rocket. I was even shocked. It's 218. And that's not even for the full week because the 5 is about to air in a half an hour. And Jesse Waters Prime Time, which is the show I'm on this week, will air at 8 p.m. So I
Yeah,
still have 2 more shows to add to this. So you can see the first spike, it looks like it's in March. It is technically March. That's when Pam Bondi was going to release. Oh, I've got all these
it's
files.
on
And
my desk. Yeah,
yeah, it's on my desk. And she released them to influencers, and they ended up being the same things that had already been released. And
yep,
then in July, there was more hoopla about it and hype that, oh, any day now we're going to release it. And then Trump started acting completely crazy. And then that dropped off. And then I wrote down some dates. July 17th is when the Wall Street Journal said they had the 50th birthday
the birthday
um
book.
book with the poem in the woman's shape with his signature on it. September 3rd, the presser that Jess, I'm sure, spoke at, that was a bunch of survivors that everybody
Remember
else
that.
carried live. Fox News did not carry it. They mentioned it, but they did not carry it live. It was it was just very blatant. Everybody
Yeah.
else was carrying it live, and then Fox had something else on. And then September 8th, the card was released by the Epstein estate. That was we got to all see the poem and the signature that certainly looks like Trump's signature. And he tried to
Yeah.
deny that it was his. And do you see any sort of, no, you don't see really a spike. You see a little
It
one in
flat
September
lines.
there, and it
Yeah.
flatlines. And then even last week, Epstein was mentioned 7 times only. And that was only really because Stephanie Miller, a comedian, was on Hannity, and he was
Right.
trying, yeah, and she just blew
I
up
had
and
her
just,
on. I had her
yes,
on, and we talked about this.
she's
It was
amazing.
wild.
And
Yeah.
she just, yeah, it was, oh yeah, he had her on because she had kissed the feet of Jasmine Crockett as a joke.
Right.
And he
Right.
was going to
Right.
make a big deal out of that. And she just goes, "Hey, Trump's in the Epstein files."
It was brilliant.
like,
But then flash forward to this week, and it goes off the charts, and that's
Yeah.
when like the dam broke, basically.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they've had entire segments now where they're like the 5 has had A blocks where it's all Epstein. And I just sat back going, what is going on? Because they've completely ignored it. So now they're like, oh, Epstein, it's no big deal. Epstein. And their whole premise now, their spin, is that this is really going to be bad for Democrats. And Trump was holding it back because he didn't want to embarrass anybody.
Right. Well, and Jesse Waters, I think we have this clip. Do we have this clip? Jesse Waters on the 5. He was getting into it with
Jessica
Tarloff, and he said, "I don't care that about Ghislaine Maxwell or something." Do we have that? If we play that? If we can't play it, maybe we have it. Matt, do we have that clip? We might not have that clip. Let's see. Well, anyway, if we get it, we'll get it. But
why do you
There it is.
Ghislaine Maxwell is in a minimum security prison and is being waited on basically hand and foot?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Well, that's beautiful.
I do know this,
I love that
Jessica.
you don't know and
You
you
will
don't
find
care, but
out
it's inconvenient
that the
for you.
FBI will be embarrassed because they investigated a lot of these allegations and didn't do anything about it. The DOJ will be embarrassed because they were the ones that cut the sweetheart deal. J.P. Morgan, all the bankers will be embarrassed.
Yeah, I'd love
a lot
to
of
hear
Democrats
from
and a lot of
Acosta.
and the royal family will be embarrassed.
Well,
so,
they
and the
definitely
Chiron
already
says
are.
Dems caught in pedophiles' web.
Yeah.
Even though Donald Trump's name is mentioned, I mean, almost he's more than anybody, except maybe Jeffrey Epstein in the emails that were released last week.
Yeah.
And so when they finally start covering it, the spin is, oh, it's about the Democrats.
Yeah. And it's been surreal because I also, like months ago, I went through my entire archives, and it was I went through 3 years worth of entire episodes, and I just searched for transcripts for Epstein. And this took days, and I got this huge, crazy Twitter thread out of it showing every single instance of when they talked about this. And it used to be, especially with Jesse Waters, that's the irony there. It used to be a huge story for him because he's really into anything even close to conspiracy theory.
Right.
So he especially had the most clips where he was just like, oh, this horrible scandal that Trump will certainly uncover, the Epstein files, over and over and over. And then it wasn't until it started to look like it was very obvious that Trump was covering it up that they were like, oh, what? That didn't happen. It's been, I think one of the things that's very difficult, it's like when I was in grad school and I'd have to search for something that didn't exist, that's sort of proving a negative. And when Fox doesn't want to cover something, they ignore it. And then people say, well, what are Fox saying? What are Fox saying? And I have to say nothing. And then like, how do you show nothing?
Right.
It's like, how do you show
the existence of nothing?
The existence of nothing.
Well,
and
that's
so
why that graph is so important. That chart that you just showed, isn't that line graph is so important because, it was just they eliminated it from the programming. It was like state television. We don't want mentions of this opposition figure, so it just doesn't. It's like the person doesn't exist. It's like Jeffrey Epstein didn't exist.
Yeah, I do my nerdy, I call those my nerdy word checks. I do them every single week. And I have kind of a
Yeah.
set, you know, it's not usually one word. I have like a list of words that I check for every single week. Democrat, Trump, Biden, crime, China, Israel. And you can sort of see what happens with these things. And I love a word check because it's very like kind of naked. They can't hide.
Yeah.
They
It's a
can't
metric.
cover it up. It's just
Yeah.
there. It's
Right.
bare. That's why and it's very, very telling because they've done the same thing with Israel. They wouldn't talk about Israel for weeks, and then all of a sudden they try to act like they cared. And
Yeah.
it was
It's very
very
much in cahoots, it seems to me, with the talking points that come out of the White House. And what it says to me, and this is something Stephanie Grisham, the former White House press secretary, told me a long time ago, is that, that Fox and the Trump White House, they work hand in glove.
Oh yeah,
Now, those are
completely.
her terms, hand in glove. And so, I mean, this chart to me says that pattern has continued into Trump 2.0 and maybe on
Yeah.
steroids. The
Yeah.
other thing, Juliet, that you've done recently, which I love, this is my new favorite thing, is you do this thing that's called Trump without Trump. And for the folks
Yes.
at home who are watching this, who have not seen this before, you're about to see something revolutionary. You have this, you kind of tapped into this real frustration that people have. And I hear this all the time from people who are like, gosh, I really don't want to hear Donald Trump's voice and I don't want to see his face. I know it's important, but I don't want to hear him and I don't want to see him. So you came up with a solution for that, where you take some of his wacky sound bites, you block over his face, and then you narrate what he's saying. Let's play this if
Okay.
we can.
Are the words of the President of the United States of America. And we got rid of the drip drip water. We call it the drip drip, where it drips out of the sink. States with tremendous water, so much water they have nothing but problems getting rid. They had restrictions on water. It comes down from heaven, right? They had restrictions on water. So you want to wash your hands, or like me, I want to wash my hair. I lather up and I turn that, and there's no water. The water's drip, they call it. They put a restrictor on. I won't mention the third item in the bathroom because I always get criticized. I used to mention that, but I don't mention it anymore because, I think you do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you shouldn't be owning a McDonald's franchise. You wouldn't do well even with the McDonald's franchise, but no. The water restrictions totally lifted. All restrictors are gone. And it's interesting. Your dishwashers were covered, right? You had no water. I was with some of the people that make them, Whirlpool and others, and they said,
rambling.
"Sir, they won't give us the water to use in our dishwashers or use in our washing machines. The washing machines have..."
Wow. I mean,
it's out
it
there.
goes on, and God bless you again, doing the Lord's work. And I mean, we need water! Exclamation. I mean, it does make it sound even more bananas when you read it like you're reading a children's story or something,
Yeah, that's literally how I do it. And the joke is I should give a shout out. I hope somebody watching this tells him I give him a shout out. Aaron Rupar, who runs Public Notice, who's also
amazing.
I love him, who's also on Substack. He's helped me out tremendously. I started making these 2 years ago, and I used to take an entire speech, condense it down to 2 minutes, and I would do an annotated version of it. And I would take his voice out. And I would put the captions next to his face. And then people started saying, I can't see his face. So that's what I found, the old ones. And so then I start putting the captions on his face.
Yeah.
And it slowly but surely evolved into the music with the children's narrator kind of voice. But what happened was I stopped making these after the election because they started declining in popularity, and taking a whole speech and turning it to 2 minutes took hours to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do it. He's too exhausting. I don't have the time. So I had stopped making them. And Aaron Rupar was on one of the podcasts he works on, and he mentioned it. He's like, oh, she does this thing where she blocks his face and she takes his voice out, and they're so funny.
Incredible.
And because I just wanted people to hear what he was saying. I'm like, they should hear what he's
No,
saying.
it's important. No,
And
and
so-
it's true.
Yeah, and I started making them after Aaron said that, because I was like, I should probably make these again. And they were so much more popular after he won again, and people started really remembering how awful he was. And I think that's what is driving them. And now they're like off the scale popular. It's like unbelievable. They are going viral everywhere I put them.
I was
And
gonna say, yeah, because it's taking off now. People are like, "Oh, yeah, this is what I need. I don't
yeah,
wanna hear him. I don't wanna see him."
yeah, and I'm totally desensitized to him because I've sat through so far like 20 of his. I'm I have a side project which is nutty, but I just had to do it, where I'm going through every single campaign event. It's 117. I have a
Yeah.
spreadsheet and I'm just going, and I'm making transcripts. I have a detailed list of everything he says in each speech and keeping track of when he changes stuff. I'm a nut job. This is what I do. I love research. So I do. I'm like a
No, but
crazy person.
I mean, honestly, though, it's serving a purpose because like I said earlier, I can't tell you how many times I hear from people like, "Jim, I respect what you do. It's so
Yeah, they'll turn him
important."
off.
Yeah, but they're like, "I can't watch him and I can't listen to him." So here's your
Yeah.
solution,
Yeah.
America. I wish I had come up with this. Juliet.
And I will say too, SNL had Jennifer Coolidge do it one episode. And she's hysterical, lovely actress, very, very, very funny woman. And
Yeah.
since then, people go, "Oh, you got this from her." I'm like, "I've been doing this for 2 years."
Oh
So
my goodness.
I'm like, "Come on!" And it's not
You
that
get
original.
dibs.
Yeah, anybody can read his blank. It's not like I'm the only person that's ever read his words. So of course not. But
Yeah.
and she's lovely. But that is kind of funny because people bring up Jennifer Coolidge, and I'm like, "Please, come
But
on."
you can relate to what reporters who have covered him for years, what they
Yeah.
go through, like listening to him talk about faucets and water pressure and
And
windmills
and the Sir
and
stories, Sir,
the
Sir.
which of course, as has been noted many times, that's one of the clearest tells that he's lying, that the story he's telling is complete bullshit. When he starts to say, "Sir, sir," like and the big brawny men with the tears in their eyes, they say, "Sir, sir." Like everybody know at that point, that's your tell. There should be like a bullshit alarm that goes off.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The
this is a
stories are
completely different thing that you're doing, which is great. So
I know, I started doing it and it was like I added the music a couple, I don't know, maybe a
yeah,
month
the
and a half
music helps.
ago. And
Right.
that's both of those songs are from iMovie. They're royalty free. Any video nerd knows those songs. Like people have
Yeah.
said, "Oh, those are iMovie." I'm like, "Yeah, that's Metal, Ceremony, and Memorial."
So
And
we
that's
won't
what
get
they're
dinged for
called.
using it.
No, nobody
Nobody's gonna
will.
care.
I
We
did
want
it
our
on
royalties.
purpose.
Yeah.
I did that on purpose that you could put them anywhere. And the joke was, I
'Cause
had
my producer Matt's probably wondering, like, "Oh shit, does that mean we
no,
can't
no,
post this?" Okay.
no, we're fine. It was funny because when I had used music before in other videos, and I thought, let's see how that works. Because the one sounds sort of like patriotic, like very
Yeah, yeah.
reverent. And then it's sort of the memorial song is the one when he's speaking, and that's just sort of like, this is a great speech by a great man. It's sort of
It's very
sarcasm.
respectful. No,
Yes.
exactly.
And I will say I take great pains to make sure every single syllable is correct. And that past one that you just played, Drip Drip Water, is what I called that one. Yeah, I know. I use Premiere Pro to make all my transcripts, and Premiere Pro uses AI,
Yeah.
and it really had a hard time getting this transcript because he kept like he says we get rid of, and at one point he says states have tremendous water, and they have he cuts himself off like mid thought a lot,
Yeah.
and it says problems getting rid, not rid of, just rid, right?
Red. Yeah.
And so for various reasons, he was also really hoarse when he was like talking kind of like this.
Yeah.
So um Premiere Pro had a really hard time with this transcript. I had to go through this like 7 times to get it perfect.
Wow.
It was, and then when
Much
I was
respect.
reading it, yeah, when I was reading it, I had a really hard time reading it because it's so odd the way he speaks in this particular one that I kept
Well,
adding
Drip
words
Drip
that
Water is also my favorite Dr. Seuss book. I don't know if you know
well,
this, but
and this one was so funny because I had to keep stopping myself because I was adding words that weren't there. I'd say
oh
get rid
goodness.
of, and I go, nope, there's no of, go back, go back, go back.
Amazing.
And yeah, I also mix up the captions to sort of point out some of the absurdity when he
Yes.
repeats himself and like, sir, I always love the
Sir
sir
needs to be in all
stories.
caps, of course. I mean,
Always.
to be reverent, this is
Yes.
we're no water, no water.
Yeah, I like to make
Yeah.
stuff really big. That's something that I keep changing these. Like I'm the type of
So
person, I don't
good.
have an editor. So this is really corny, but one of my teachers in grad school, Greg David, who writes for
Yeah.
the city here in New York, he said It's a very funny, eccentric man. And he turned to our class one day and he goes, if your editor has to come up with ideas for you, you're going to get fired.
That's true. That's a truism in journalism. It's very true.
Yeah, so because I don't have no editor, I'm always like, okay, come up with a new idea, come up with a
That's
new idea. And
and
always self-critical, you know?
no,
Like,
you've
how
done
can
it.
I improve?
You've done it and you've nailed it. And next, I think we need is like maybe some animation in there, the faucet turning on, the water coming down. We'll workshop this, but honestly, it's already perfect. But Juliet, great to have you on as always. Great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And hi to Duke. This is not actually Odin, but it looks like Odin.
Oh, there's Duke.
Mugs, our
Duke says
matching mugs
hi.
again.
Oh, that's very cute.
Good
Good stuff.
Thank you
See
so
you,
much.
Juliet.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great weekend. Make sure you check out Decoding Fox News. All right. Let's bring in Tommy Christopher because Tommy's standing by. And Tommy,
Hey.
how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
I hear you. Doing
All
well.
right.
Doing well. You're looking very Carville-esque. It's kind of giving me a James Carville vibe here.
I don't know. This StreamYard thing, for some reason, it's doing like a fisheye thing. And
That's okay.
I'm not really happy with the look, but
that's okay. You can lean in if you want. It's whatever
that's
you
what I'm
want to
going to
do.
do. I'm going to lean in.
We should talk a couple of things we should talk about. One is, I guess Trump is with Mom Donnie, or was with Mom Donnie, and that was kind of wacky.
Yeah, I don't know
up
if you
in
got
the
a chance to
tri-state
watch
area.
that.
What's that?
I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. I watched.
I only saw like a couple of clips where I guess Mom Donnie was basically saying to Trump's face that he is a despot and a tyrant. Is that?
It was a little. It was a little awkward, but it was like friendly when weird. What happened was, the conservative media people in the room were trying to cause trouble, and
right.
He didn't back. He didn't back. Oh, here we go. There you go.
Here it is. Let's watch this.
Both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say
okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
He doesn't mind being called a fascist.
No. That was my very good friend Jackie Heinrich asking that question, and good on her for trying to clarify things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought I thought Mom Donnie handled it well, and Trump.
It's that weird thing though, where he stands next to Trump. Like he does that to people. Sometimes he makes them stand next to him while he's seated.
Yeah,
which is weird. It's like almost like a weird talk show from hell.
Yeah, the thing about the thing about Trump is that he's really easy to charm if you try. It seems like Mom Donnie really charmed him. I understand. I didn't see this part, but I read it on my website, mediaite.com, that somebody asked him, "Do you agree with Lee Stefanik that he's a jihadist?" And he was like, "No, I met with a very rational man," and blah blah blah. So who knows?
He's always helping the Republicans.
It's a new bromance. Listen, here's the thing. In his first term, I always had this idea that if the right person got to him, like he could do single payer and get away with it. You know what I mean? Like, if I had gotten 20 minutes alone with Trump in the first term, I wouldn't have been like, "Yo, dude, you're a racist," and "Yo, dude, you're blah blah blah," because that's not going to help anything. I would have been like, "Listen, you really want to be a hero? Give everybody health care."
Yeah.
And nobody, you could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. I'm sure as hell can give them health care.
Right. He convinced the Republicans not to release the Epstein files for a while. It's something that they said they all wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Maybe that's where this will end up. We'll all end up with free health care. I mean, shit.
I don't know. I mean, I will say this though, Donnie, I'm not that. I know some of the guys where I work don't love him too much. I haven't paid that much attention, but wouldn't it be just? I'm rooting so hard for him to succeed. I'm rooting for wouldn't it be amazing if he gave everybody free buses and a city-run grocery store and everything was great? Because people talk shit about I'm leaving New York, but there really is no place like it, especially if you're a business, So
it's a playground for the rich. That's what Manhattan has become, a playground for the rich. And if you go there, money will fly out of your wallet and your pockets in no time.
Yeah.
It's a disappearing act.
you know, if they don't want their taxes raised, but like, you know, they'll drop, you know, 50 grand on a membership to the Met so they can get like a free reception, you know.
It's a second Gilded Age that we're in right now. Honestly,
Yeah,
it really
is. It's crazy. It is.
It's
nuts.
insane. And
Right.
I mean, Tommy, I mean, what did you think of Trump going after the Democrats and saying seditious behavior punishable by death? I mean,
Yeah, well, this is, you know, I don't get to write on my Substack as often as I want to, but like,
yeah,
and we're going to cover this later, but earlier this week, I was like, I literally gasped at the horrible thing that he said. And this was not about this. This was about something else.
yeah,
And he managed to like, and it's hard to make me gasp.
yeah.
And then he went and topped that with this. Yeah, it's nuts. And you know, one of the guys, I confess that I didn't read. I only read the headline. But Isaac Shore, who is one of our conservative
I
writers,
saw that. Yes,
he said Trump should be immediately impeached, and like I don't know. I can't remember if there was also a thing in there about like jailing him, but
yeah,
I don't know,
throwing him out of office.
Like impeached
Yeah.
and something else too. There were two things he said they do to him. Maybe it was like horsewhipped. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not misquoting you, Isaac. You know,
Yeah, he's a very conservative member of the Mediaite team. I noticed.
I think he said for Trump to be horsewhipped. So this
Which
is what,
I
like,
don't. You know, listen, you know, it would just be great if he could just go away. You know, honestly, you know, forget the horsewhip part. But you know, you're right. There were things that made us gasp this week, and maybe the one that was the most of all, and maybe this is what you're referring to, Tommy, is when he was with MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and said things happen about Jamal Khashoggi. I mean, you know, that was their banana, like the Mamdani thing. That's kind of a sideshow in the Oval Office, and it's humorous and it's funny that Trump was with Mamdani and Mamdani was allowed to call him a fascist to his face. But for Trump to just sit there and say, "Oh, things happen about Jamal Khashoggi," I mean, come on.
Yeah, that wasn't. I mean, look, that's fucked up, but that wasn't what made me gasp.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And you know what? I want to set this up for a minute. You know, because this deserves its own fucking special attention.
Yeah.
This was literally like hours after people were like complaining and just like raising holy hell because Katie Couric had dared to ask John Fetterman, you know, Charlie Kirk was kind of I don't know what she said. I think she actually said Charlie Kirk should be horsewhipped also, but no, whatever she said about Charlie Kirk, it was something along the lines of he was a very controversial guy, and like, you know, people interpreted, and I read what she said, and I don't think they were being unfair, interpreted it as sort of not excusing, but whatever. Like he was asking to be murdered a little bit.
Yeah.
In other words, I could see people being offended by what she said.
Sure.
But she wasn't.
I didn't see it, so I have no idea.
She wasn't that artless about it. I think horsewhip might be an exaggeration, but they were flipping out over it. Okay. And, you know, I don't disagree necessarily that, you know, that's definitely not the way, whatever.
Yeah.
But they were losing their shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk is a guy, he should not have been murdered. It was terrible. He was murdered. He was murdered by a lone whack job. And literally nobody like, you know, and
still haven't gotten to the bottom of it either.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Jamal Khashoggi, what they did to this guy, it's unspeakable what they did to him. Although I'm going to speak it actually. It's hard because this was a government that and it's like the questioner said, our intelligence community concluded that MBS was the one who ordered it.
Right.
They took this guy
with a bone saw. I mean, he was
conscious. Yeah.
Yes.
He was conscious.
Yes.
They gave him a paralytic so he couldn't move, but he felt everything as they dismembered him with a fucking bone saw. Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing that Trump said that made me gasp was, you know, he was very controversial. A lot of people didn't like him.
Right. That's what it was. Yes.
That my fucking jaw literally dropped. And I mean, like, this is, you know, all the shit that we've heard him say.
Yeah.
And my jaw literally, and these are the same people who were crying and rending their garments about Katie Couric, very like much more diplomatically saying something about Charlie Kirk,
Right.
and could give two shits about this fucking horrible thing he said about a man who suffered like that at the hands of a foreign government.
Exactly. Brutal assassins.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I know. I was stunned. And you know what? Fuck everybody. Listen, when people say, oh, you know what? You shouldn't like disparage Trump fans, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Fuck every one of them that didn't have any energy for this. Yes. You are fucking trash.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Tommy, I'm right there with you. To me, the fact that Donald Trump would sit there with MBS like that and say, well, he was kind of a controversial figure. Some people liked him, some people didn't, and things happen. It just goes to show you what he thinks of journalists. I mean, honestly, that's, you know, I don't think I would ever travel back. I had to travel to Saudi Arabia a couple of times. I don't think I would ever go back because I'm worried about being how I would be treated as a journalist.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's
I don't want to ever be Bonesaw adjacent. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. No. And the other thing too, is to have a big dinner with, you know, all of the big tech bros.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's disgusting. It's filthy. Yeah. It's gross.
Yeah.
And it's a statement of where we are as a country right now, that Trump, and of course the Trump family has profited off of these ties with the Saudis. And so when Trump says, oh, they're investing $1 trillion in the United States, first of all, that's about the same thing as their GDP. It's horseshit.
Yeah, can I also
and what all he cares about is how much is being invested in the Trump family, the Live Golf tournament. I mean, the list goes on and on.
This is the other thing. My jaw dropped twice during that fucking press conference, because there was the thing he said about Khashoggi, and then he said to, I believe it was Mary Bruce, you are a terrible person. He's sitting next to the dude who fucking bonesawed a guy who was awake and said, Mary Bruce, you're a terrible person.
Right. The terrible person was sitting right the fuck next to him.
Ugh.
Right. Well, we haven't even, I mean, speaking of reporters, and you're with Mediaite, so we have to talk about Piggygate and Trump calling Catherine Lucy, a great reporter with Bloomberg, Piggy, quiet Piggy. I remember seeing this last Friday night, and he's like freaking out and saying quiet, quiet. And I thought he said Peggy or something. I was like, what is this Piggy thing when it came out?
Yeah, it didn't register for, you know what's, yes,
there's a few days.
There's a lot. Nobody noticed it until like Tuesday.
Yeah.
I have to say something, you know, the people on that plane heard it. Okay. Because Jennifer Jacobs, I didn't realize it until a couple of days later, but Jennifer Jacobs flagged it when it happened. She sent out a tweet. It was not a pool. It wasn't a pool note. I don't think she was the pool reporter, but she tweeted a summary of the gaggle, and she noted that he called her Piggy, and none of them said shit.
And that is a big problem. And you and I have talked about this before. There it is, quiet Piggy. Yeah. You and I have talked about this before, Tommy, that we need to see these reporters standing up for each other more. It was one of the things that I frankly was kind of sick of by the time I finished my time at the White House was, you know, if we're not going to stand up and tell Trump to shut the fuck up when he calls the press the enemy of the people, then what the fuck are we doing here?
No, I know, man.
And when he's going after news organizations the way he's doing it right now, and these news organizations, some of these news organizations are just absolutely gutless in this country right now. It's a fucking shame. It's a national disaster, and it's a national shame that they don't tell them to go fuck themselves when they screw with the press like this. To me, along with the portraits that he has up and down the colonnade, there should be another walk of shame. And it should be some of these media executives who won't stand up to the White House. Give me a break.
And listen, you know, I actually thought about doing a column about this, but I didn't want it to be seen as beating up on Mary Bruce.
Yeah.
But
she did a great job.
She did do a great job. But ABC News, and by extension her to some degree, they completely whitewashed the whole thing. She did like a direct to camera video about it. She was talking about the the MBS exchange and blah blah blah. She did not mention Trump's attack.
What happened?
I did a search. I searched on the shit that Trump said about her. That was never broadcast on ABC. That was nowhere to be found in the write-up, the ABC News write-up of what happened. And I understand, listen, the impulse, I know that when I was at the White House, a lot of reporters would say, well, I don't want to be the story.
I don't want to be
I don't want it to be about me. But you know what?
I get
you
it.
fucking are. You don't have, I do get it too, but that's gone. That's out the window. And they need to wake up and realize that it's out the window because you know, whatever. I'm sure Mary Bruce is like, well, you know, I don't want the story to be about me. And ABC's like, well, you know, we don't want our reporter to be the center of the story. You know what, though? You are letting the next reporter down, okay?
That's right.
You are letting, you know, I mean, whoever was the last one to get attacked and didn't say shit, let Mary Bruce down, okay?
That's right.
And I don't look, I mean, I don't want to.
And it seems to me, Tommy, what's happening is that the White House is calling these news organizations to complain, to moan and complain about certain reporters and certain anchors and trying to get them tossed off the air and kicked out of their jobs and so on.
Like who'd they do that to, Jim Acosta?
Well, I don't want to mention any names here.
Yeah.
But the default position of any television executive for any company, if you get a call from the White House saying we need to get rid of this reporter or that anchor, or whatever, the default anchor or the default answer should always be go fuck yourselves.
Yes. Go fuck yourselves.
That is what and I'm not saying that is like some kind of revolutionary concept. This is a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
News organizations have been telling the White House, whether it's under Republicans or Democrats, to go screw yourselves when they make outrageous complaints like that.
Do you remember how loud they told Obama's White House to go fuck itself when Major Garrett didn't get invited to a round robin with the fucking Treasury Secretary? Do you remember that?
Right.
I mean,
the press stood up and raised a ruckus to get Fox a seat in the front row of the briefing room. People completely fucking forget about that. Yeah. So anyway, as you and I go on and on about this, it's true.
There's good eggs.
Back at least like 10 years ago of having a goddamn spine about this stuff.
Well, this is the thing, and you know, I'm sure that a lot of these people watch your show, Jim, because you know you and me were both veterans at the White House press corps, and we still have a lot of friends on that beat. I don't think I ever ran into Mary Bruce while I was there, but if Mary's
she worked her way up
watching
through the ranks and does a good job, and
if Catherine Lucy's watching, you know, Weijia Jiang, Caitlin Collins, these are all people who have you know, women mostly who stand up to Trump, who Trump routinely attacks. And look, it shouldn't be up to Mary Bruce. It shouldn't be up to Kate Collins. It shouldn't be up to Kathy Lucy to go out there and complain about this. And especially when you're a woman, you know, you don't want to be seen as whatever the complaint. You know what I mean? That's an extra layer. Yes, that somebody has to have. The news organization should have their back, and the other reporters in those rooms should have their back.
That's right. And
I'm also talking to these MAGA people. Okay,
right.
The Lindell TV people and what's his face?
Brian Glenn.
Brian Glenn. I was going to say Scott Glenn, but that's a different guy.
That was
Brian Glenn.
Brian
Glenn. Okay, which by the way, I mean I understand that he grew a pair a little bit when it came to Trump attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene. But you know what? I would have been, and a lot of you probably, Jim, a lot of us would have been the first ones to stand up if somebody had abused one of these other guys. I was great friends with John Gizzi. Okay, I was great friends with Fred Lucas, conservative reporters. If anybody had abused them like that, I would have been the first one to get the fuck up out of my seat and say something.
Yeah,
okay?
I know, man.
This is not about partisanship. This is like you guys. It is a privilege to sit in that room, and so many people who do it just ain't shit. And I don't just mean the conservatives. I mean a lot of them. There are a lot of them who sit there with their thumbs up their ass and they don't say anything while this stuff is happening to these very brave women.
And they've done a great job. And I see some of them standing up for one another, and that is good. You know, Peter Alexander, I tell people all the time, stood up for me when Trump was coming after me at that one press conference. And that's how it should work. And the White House Correspondents Association should be putting out statements saying, you know, you can't call a reporter piggy, and you can't say, you know, you can't do that.
Is there a more useless bunch than them? Christ almighty.
Well, Tommy, now that I've got you all revved up, let's do this again soon. Any last words?
Michael Fanone is going to be. I'm going to interview him on Wednesday. It's going to be for subscribers only. So, like cough up the $8 and come listen to what I have to say to him. And I want to thank you, Jim. And also, great job booking Juliet Jeske, who I'm a
Do a
big
thing on
fan.
her for Mediaite if you can convince your bosses there, because I think she's doing great work over there. I don't, she's just her, but she's doing a great job with. She is literally decoding Fox News, and it's fantastic.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan. So,
Yeah.
good
Good to
get.
see you, Tommy.
Good to see you too, Jim.
All right, take care. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Have we gotten ourselves in enough trouble? This is what happened. Tommy was like, book me. Let's do a fuck it Friday. I was like, fine, let's do a fuck it Friday. Here we are. And it is the end of a fuck it Friday for me, at least. It's been a hell of a week. And I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, it means so much that you guys support independent media. We get to have the kind of conversations that you don't always get to have, that you definitely don't get to have in corporate media, legacy media. So if you can help us out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It means a lot and makes a difference. And however you're watching this, if it's Substack, YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, it just helps if you make it clear that you like the show and want to subscribe and so on. So thanks very much for all of that. And I just want to, I'm not going to end with a long soliloquy today. I do want to just finally say once and for all that the display of bravery and courage that we saw from the Epstein survivors, that's what I'm taking into this weekend. Let's not end on a pessimistic note. Let's end on an optimistic note for this week, folks, because what they proved here in Washington, and we have become one heck of a cynical country, is that you can believe in something and you can make it happen. And the power that was demonstrated by that very brave group of women, to me, it's absolutely. I think the word inspiring gets overused and it gets schmaltzy and so on. It was absolutely inspiring what they were able to pull off here in Washington this week. I don't know if I've ever seen legislation race through Congress in the way that it did earlier this week. And so kudos to the Epstein survivors who have put out a statement just this evening saying they're receiving death threats. They are paying very close attention to how these Epstein files are going to be released. And we're not going to stop. I mean, this all started back in July. Folks who regularly watch this program will remember it was back in July when the DOJ tried to sweep this under the rug, when the White House tried to sweep this under the rug. We started right away covering the Epstein story like a pit bull on steroids. And just because this passed through the Congress does not mean this is over by a long shot, folks. Until the Epstein files are released, we're going to remind the American people, we're going to remind the viewers who watch this show that Donald Trump is still standing in the way of the release of the Epstein files. You can sign a bill into law, whether it's with your hand or the auto pen. You can sign a bill into law, but you have not carried out the law, Donald Trump, until those files are released. My thanks to Jess Michaels, to Julia Jeske, and to Tommy Christopher, who probably got me in some trouble today, but that's okay. So be it. It's a Friday. It's a fucking Friday. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Still reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.